Hi everyone, welcome to our second screencast on perfect tense or past tense. This screencast will be about irregular or otherwise called strong verbs, and particularly those with haben. Let's have a look at how this tense with irregular verbs is formed. You'll notice that it's not dissimilar to regular verbs with just a couple of exceptions. So the first example, ich habe viel Limonade getrunken. You can see we still have our form of haben, and at the end we have our past participle. Second sentence, again, hat eine Pizza gegessen, our form of haben in second position, and at the end a past participle. And the third example, this time a question, haben Sie Ihre Freunde getroffen? Did you meet your friends? We have a form of haben, this time at the start because it's a question, and again a past participle at the end. So how is this different to regular verbs? Well, you might remember that their past participles are formed with GE at the beginning and a T at the end on the stem. You can see in this instance that instead of the T at the end, we have an EN at the end of these past participles. And you'll also notice that the stems are not always regular. So this one here, for example, comes from the verb trinken, to drink. And you can see the stem is not quite regular. This one, can you guess, comes from the verb essen. It's almost regular, but it's added an extra G. And finally, the third one comes from the verb treffen, to meet. And you can see that the E has changed to an O. So that's the difference. The past participles and sometimes have an irregular stem. Let's look at some more examples here. Now this particular set of examples uses verbs where the stem does not change. Alright, so this set has no stem change. Alright, so lesen, meaning to read. We take the normal stem, les, and we add, as always, a GE to the beginning, but this time, as it's an irregular verb, an EN on the front, so gelesen. The second example, sehen, to see. We take the usual stem, sie, and the pattern, GE at the beginning, EN at the end, gesehen. Schlafen, do you remember what it means? Schlafen means to sleep. So the stem, schlaf, GE at the beginning, EN at the end, geschlafen, slept. Tragen, meaning to wear or also to carry. Its stem is trag, and we add a GE to the beginning and an EN to the end. And our last example in this group, geben, to give, a stem, geb, adding GE at the beginning, EN at the end to give, gegeben. Okay? This second set of irregular or strong verbs has stem changes. Okay, so unfortunately, while there are some patterns, essentially you just have to learn them. So let's have a look at how these ones go. Singen, the normal stem is sing, but the stem in the perfect tense is sung. In finden, to find, it becomes fund. In nehmen, meaning to take, it's totally different. It becomes nom. Sprechen, to speak, the stem becomes sproch. And helfen, to help, the stem becomes holf. So these are the bits that you actually have to learn. The rest of the formation of the past participle is just normal. GE at the beginning, en at the end. Gesungen. G-E-E-N. Gefunden. G-E at the beginning, E-N at the end. Genommen. G-E-E-N. Gesprochen. And one last example. Geholfen. One of the best ways of learning these things is to chant them. And I know that sounds a bit weird and people will think you're nuts, but it does work. So just one after the other. Singen, gesungen, finden, gefunden, nehmen, genommen, sprechen, gesprochen, helfen, geholfen, and so on. You could put a beat to it, get creative, but that's really the best way to learn them. So let's have a look at a few examples. Okay, so these examples. Wir something mit meiner Oma something. And we're using the verb sprechen, to speak. So as always, we need a form of haben. And the one that goes with wir is simply haben. And the past participle of sprechen goes at the end. And the past participle is gesprochen. Ge at the beginning, en at the end, and the irregular stem in the centre. Second example, with the form of haben at the beginning because it's a question. And it goes with du. So hast du ein gutes Buch, past participle at the end, ge, stem, and en, gelesen. Hast du ein gutes Buch gelesen? Have you read a good book? And the third example was singen. We need a form of haben to go with ich. So ich habe. Our past participle of singen, ge, irregular stem, sung, and en. Ich habe im Chor gesungen. I sang in the choir. And finally, we need a form of haben, this time to go with so hat. And at the end, a past participle of essen, ge, irregular stem, and en. Am Freitag hat Kuchen gegessen. On Friday, he ate cake. Okay, hope that helped. Do some practice and see how you go. Viel Glück!